port at the bottom and a headphone jack on the top. So now that we have some of the early specs out of the way, let's take a look at the displays for both devices. 6.7 inches for the Asus ROG Phone 8 Pro, as well as 6.8 on the RedMagic. Both of them are really good. You've got high refresh rates on both displays, with the Asus leading the pack at 165 Hertz, while the RedMagic is at 120. That being said, that doesn't mean that, of course, you will find games to match that. So jumping into benchmarks with Geekbench 6, we have some interesting numbers where the numbers are very close for both devices. As you can clearly see, both the Asus and the RedMagic 9 Pro got above 2,000, 2,250 for the Asus, 2,272 for the RedMagic, while the Asus got 7,135 for multi-core and RedMagic got 7,108. Really close numbers. And when we look at GPU performance for both of them, we can see that GPU is also quite interesting, with 14,326 for the Asus, while 14,885 for the RedMagic. Close numbers in, overall, but really high and impressive numbers. Now, taking a look at 3D Mark scores here, we're going to go to Wildlife Extreme. And here the numbers are close again, with the Asus winning at 5,208 and the RedMagic at 5,167. Average frame rate is 31 frames per second for the Asus, 30 for the RedMagic. You can see the numbers really close, 97% scores, great temperatures and battery performance all around. We also did a solar bar score as well, where the Asus got 8,689, frame rate average was 33, while the RedMagic got 8,694 with a frame rate of 33 as well. So again, really close numbers all the way through. But what does that mean for us while we game? So we started off with, of course, Call of Duty Mobile. And playing Call of Duty Mobile, both devices were set to the highest settings you'd expect. And starting off with the Asus, we got a solid clean 120 frames per second. Now, that's pretty solid and really great performance overall. I did like it, as well as also the RedMagic 9 Pro did a solid 120 frames per second. Both devices handled really well, and you can see it ran very, very well. Now we went over to PUBG Mobile, where the Asus has the capability of running at 90 frames per second gameplay. So we played that and it ran a solid 90 frames per second, which is pretty nice to see. Played really well, no issues, no slowdowns. Then with the RedMagic 9 Pro, we couldn't do that, but we were able to do both smooth extreme at 60 frames per second, locked solid, and then of course Ultra HD Ultra at 40 frames per second. Again, that ran well, that did good. Now some would say that is better with the Asus, but I just think it's something where the game has to be optimized, or at least updated, for the RedMagic to actually hit those numbers, because in terms of benchmarks, they're pretty much the same. Now, when we move over to Genshin Impact, this is where I also included some of my temperature tests. Asus ROG Phone 8 Pro, this did a solid 60 frames per second for 30 minutes. Now, you could see the press announcements from both companies. They talked about how they can play Genshin for 30 minutes at 60 FPS. What I wanted to see was what temperatures would be with the new cooling chambers with the Asus device. And it did pretty well. It went up to about 42 degrees at around the 15-minute mark. Then I went ahead and applied the new aero cooler. Now, this should bring the temperatures down by, I believe, 10 to 15%. And it did a good job, brought the temperatures down to 38 degrees as I continued to play. And it stayed at 38, going through another 15 minutes of gameplay. So I think with the cooler on, you will get that solid cool temperature at around 38 or slightly lower. And I think it dipped down when I switched from Genshin Impact to about 34. Now, what about the RedMagic 9 Pro, which has that built-in cooler there? Now, once you start playing, usually you can set the coolers to turn on once you fire up a game or whatever situation you want to. Also, in the case, you can use the cooler while you are charging your device, keep your device cool. And with Genshin Impact, you're able to play 30 minutes at 60 frames per second. But what's interesting is the temperature stayed at around 38, 39 degrees the whole time. So that built-in cooler really comes in handy, and it wasn't loud. It's about 22 to 25% quieter, so which means you're getting less noise and still getting higher cooling rates with the inbuilt cooler, and it does just as well as the external cooler. So I think that's a huge win for RedMagic. Now, both devices do have game centers you can go into, which is quite interesting, giving you a lot of customization in there. Now with the Asus ROG Phone 8 Pro, you can tap the X button and that takes you into the console mode, where you can select different options for your performance, dynamic or ultra. You can also go into the Anime Vision, which is the of course, the animated logos behind your device, which gives you a bunch of customizations there, where you can have customizations for music, notifications, charging, the ROG logo screen on and off while you're gaming, recording, all those things built in. Also have customizations for your Aero cooler as well. Now, the other thing too is you do have the Game Genie when you are gaming. And this also gives you more customizations. You can pull that from the either top or left right-hand corner, and that gives you the ability to customize, say, like the on-screen FPS counter. You can also turn off notifications. You can add in a cursor. There are many functionalities built into this, and that's pretty nice. Now, with the RedMagic 9 Pro, you do have something similar, but RedMagic also has that game button on the side, which is really cool. That slider works well with no matter where you are, you want to game, you hit the slider, and then it takes you straight into the game center. The RedMagic Game Center allows you to customize everything for each game, fully customizable, and also some really great plugins, including one for Diablo mode, which is a higher performance mode that moves your clock speed up to 3.3 gigahertz per second. And it has similar features when you go into your game, where you can swipe from the left twice, and that will bring up your in-game menu, and you can do a lot of customizations with the trigger buttons as well as some of the game functions as well, which is pretty nice. Now, some of you ask about emulators. Now, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 runs emulators really well, and you only see that performance all the way through. Looking at PSP emulator playing God of War there, it ran well on both the Asus as well as the RedMagic, 60 frames per second, 10x resolution on both devices, really solid. You can see how well it handles on the Asus as well as also the RedMagic. And moving over to the GameCube emulator, Dolphin emulator, played F-Zero GX, which ran at 60 FPS, as well as also Star Wars Rogue Leader, which also ran at 60 FPS, although I did have to drop it down to 1080p for those two GameCube games, which also did the same on the RedMagic as well. So performance for emulators for both of them were really solid, and I think a lot of people will like that. Now, as you're gaming, audio is really important, and I want you guys to take a listen to the speakers of both devices to see how well they sound. Now, when it comes to speakers, we've heard audio from both the ROG Phone 8 Pro and the RedMagic 9 Pro, and the clear winner is the ROG 8 Pro. Now, even though the ROG doesn't have the dual front-facing speakers anymore, it just sounds better and sounds clearer than what RedMagic does have. RedMagic is loud, but it's not as clear and it's not as rich in the bass there. So speakers, Asus ROG 8 Pro wins. Then what about battery life? Now, both devices have some really large batteries, and we do have a 5500 milliamp battery on the Asus ROG Phone 8 Pro, while we have a 6500 milliamp battery on the RedMagic 9 Pro. And that 6500 milliamps really showcases on the RedMagic. That battery lasts a really long time, and it is great for all use cases. So in terms of battery life, it takes the cake here, even though the Asus RedMagic 8 Pro has a really good battery. So the last thing I want to talk about are the cameras. Now, the Asus has talked about how they've actually gone past gaming and giving you flagship cameras on your device. So I want to see how it stands against the RedMagic 9 Pro. Now, RedMagic also has something very interesting where they have an under-display camera in the front. And I'll just say this right now, let's just stop doing that until we perfect that technology, because the camera, even though it is better than what I've seen in the Galaxy Fold, it's still not great. It doesn't compete with the Asus, and it's just something that shouldn't be on any device till it's improved. But what about the rear camera? I think the image quality is very similar, with the RedMagic winning in some situations and Asus winning in others as well. So I'm not sure where the leg up is for Asus in the camera department. I think some of the video is better, but I want to know what your thoughts are. And I want to know what your thoughts are in general between two devices here. Do you think the Asus ROG Phone 8 Pro is still the leader in mobile gaming smartphones, or do you think that the RedMagic 9 Pro has taken that crown, especially early on in the year? Now, the reason I say that is also when you look at price. The Asus ROG Phone 8 Pro is priced at $1,099, while the RedMagic, you can get it for about $920. Now, Asus also goes up to 24 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte of storage. So let me know your thoughts, guys. Who do you think won this battle vid? Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and always enjoy your entertainment.